Welcome to the Passive Income Machine podcast, where we show you how to break free from the grind and achieve real financial freedom in 10 years or less. My name is Ryan D. Lee, and I've helped thousands turn income into cash flow, trade fake money for real assets, and take back control over their time, their wealth, and ultimately their life. Each week, you'll get strategy, tools, and mindset to build your own passive income machine. So my friends, sit back, relax, and enjoy today's episode. All right, my friends. Welcome back to the Passive Income Machine podcast. You today are on the microphone with me, Ryan D. Lee. And today we turn over a new leaf, a new chapter in the Passive Income Machine podcast, because today I am inviting on my co-host forevermore of the Passive Income Machine, Scott Saunders. Scott, you want to say what's up to everyone?
Ryan, super excited. It's an honor and a privilege to be co-hosting this with you. Can't tell you how excited I am to share all this great content and be able to share a lot of truth nuggets with everybody.
I'll tell you what, Scott, we've been talking about this day for a long time, and you just made a big step inside of your life and your professional career to come on and do this. This isn't going to be a part-time gig for you. You're not doing this as a side hustle or a hobby. This is your mission and really the next phase and chapter of your life. But before we get there, let's kind of rewind the clock a little bit. Scott, how long have you been involved in the cash flow tactics / passive income machine world? How long have you been in this game?
I've been in this game probably a good 6 years now, since I found you, of all places, on the internet with the podcast. And you just kind of spoke to me. When I heard you, something resonated, something really gelled. And I was like, man, I got to learn more about what this guy has and what he's doing. That was probably 6 years ago or so. And from then, I kind of jumped in and started learning the tactics. And it's been quite a ride. I can't think of what my life would be like if I hadn't done this. I think it would be radically different. So for me, it's so exciting not only to be able to apply it personally, but now to be with you in a community where we're growing a community, showing people how to apply these things and changing lives and seeing people get financially free. It's so dang exciting.
It's so exciting, Scott. And I tell you what, I think there's a lot of things that you and I connect on. You know, right behind the background, if you're on the video version of this, we can see, Scott, you're coming at us from the mountains of Colorado. Yeah, that's you have a love for being outdoors. When we talk about financial freedom for you, financial freedom is living a purpose-driven life, being outdoors, having time, adventure, exploring. But you've been in this game of real estate, of tax strategy for your entire career. So rather than just sum it up with what you've done over the last 6 years, let's rewind. Kind of give us an insight into who Scott Saunders is, what you do professionally, what you've helped millions of people do over your career. Let's talk a little bit about the game of tax strategy and 1031s.
Yeah, well, I'll kind of take you all the way back, and we'll go back to the late 1980s. I graduated from college, UC Santa Barbara, with a business economics degree. So I love economics, I like systems and how all the economy works. And right after that, I literally stumbled into a niche that I didn't even know existed, a whole industry related to real estate called 1031 exchanges and tax deferral. And I stumbled into that and started with a little startup company up in Northern California in this niche, and just kind of dug in, and I loved it. It was so exciting that there was this whole part of the tax code. Back then, Ryan, we didn't even have the rules that we have now. We were just operating after a tax court decision. So it was...
Wow, you were back in the game just off of it wasn't a precedent, it was just a tax court decision that you guys were running a business around. That's crazy.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
There was a case called T.J. Starker. It was a case in the Ninth Circuit Court, and that was in 1979, and that decided things, and they didn't even have treasury regulations around this. So this was a really emerging industry that people kind of were like, whoa, what is this? And a lot of uncertainty, a lot of confusion. And so I've kind of grown up in that industry. I started with that company back in 1988. It's what's called a qualified intermediary. Sometimes you hear them called QIs, accommodators, facilitators. But in that role, I really dug deep into the whole section of tax deferral, using the tax code with that particular application to help out investors. And as time's gone on, I kind of look at the tax code more expansively. That's just one great tool, and we can talk about that. So I started with that company and dug in, started learning tax law, both the legal side and the tax side, and then how to apply it to real estate. Since that point in time, Ryan, I've literally done well over 100,000 1031 exchanges, well in excess of that, where I've helped people sell a property, go through the process, redeploy their capital into better properties. So
That's crazy. That's a lot of 1031 exchanges. I mean, you've put in the reps. That's way more than the 10,000 hour rule. You've put in the reps.
absolutely. Yeah, no, I've definitely done that. So I've got a deep expertise in that niche. Over time that kind of expanded, and I got involved with the National Trade Association, got on the board, was president of the board, and then for a long time was on the Government Affairs Committee. And so probably the last 10, 15 years have spent a lot of time educating people in Congress, of both parties, right? Either side. Just talking about the tax code and how important having a good code is to help the real estate market, how important that is to businesses, to business owners, real estate investors, farmers, ranchers, developers. It's such a big part of the economy that drives economic activity, and we've even done studies on it, Ryan. I mean, there's well over 100,000 jobs created by that whole 1031 industry. So it's a driver of jobs and income and transactional activity. So it's been a lot of fun doing that, and I'm super pumped to be joining you on this podcast where we're going to go in and share ideas and share wisdom and share strategies with people. I can't think of anything more impactful than pointing the way towards financial freedom and a really simple and duplicatable strategy that people can do and take advantage of. And nothing pumps me up more than that. I'm stoked.
I agree with that, man. I want to kind of pick your brain a little bit on your expertise there because 100,000 reps in the game, educating Congress. How important is, real estate to the overall tax code in general? I did a study one time, or not a study, but asking ChatGPT. I don't know if you can consider that a study. But ChatGPT said that 30%, 30 to 33% of the tax code was all around real estate. How much real estate is actually integrated inside of the tax code? What is your opinion on that?
I'd say I'm not gonna fight ChatGPT. I mean, AI is smarter than you and I combined. I would say it's a big percentage like that. When you look at the code is really designed to incentivize behavior, right? To give people a motive to get an outcome that the government wants. And the government can't create, develop, repurpose real estate like we can as investors and business owners. So there are all sorts of incentives that they build into the code to help make that doable and to attract capital. And so it's important. Sometimes people look at this and they go, oh, well, that's just a loophole. And when you really study what it is, it's an incentive that our leaders in Congress put there to bring in capital to create an economic outcome. And if you don't have the incentive, you're not going to have the capital coming in and you're not going to get the desired outcome. So I could point to example after example of neighborhoods that have been redeveloped or repurposed with capital in the code that came in specifically for that has turned around communities, right? It's increased home values. It's, you've had all these strip centers kind of flourish and restaurants spin off and the tax base goes up for the local community. So you get all these great benefits, but it all starts with tax incentives, and that people that are savvy look at the incentives in the code and they go, maybe if I put my money over there where they're giving me an incentive, I can get a good return, and you'll contribute towards a really good economic outcome as well.
I love that. I love how you frame taxes as incentives because it took me a while to get to that viewpoint myself. I always felt like taxes were punitive, right? They were coming after me. They're trying to get me. And there's probably an element of that. I mean, obviously the government needs revenue coming in. And so, taxes are part of living in a healthy society. But the tax code, the more I've learned, the more I've spent time with you, the more I've realized that it is majority a series of incentives to incentivize outcomes in the economy. And the way they incentivize this is through tax breaks. So for someone who's not who's never done a 1031. Why don't you give us an opportunity, give us a high level overview of what a 1031 is, how it can help someone from the tax standpoint, and then more specifically, how it fits into the passive income machine model. Hey, quick time out from the show. I just had to pop in and say if this content is resonating with you, the How to Retire in 10 Years Summit is going to blow your mind. Every strategy you hear us talk about starts there. This is the ultimate event for creating real financial freedom in 2025. We've got an early registration bonus that you're not going to want to miss. Spots are filling fast, so check out that link in the description or just head over to retireit10years.com and get registered now. Let's make this your year. Now, back to the show.
Sure thing. And on this one, I'm going to go back even farther than me, Ryan. I'm going to go way back in history for everybody. The tax code brought about 1031 exchanges. It's called Section 1031 of the tax code, so it's just a part of the code that they identify. That came about back in 1921. So it's something that's been around for a long time, and it really started with rural America. You know, you and I were farmers, and I had a wheat farm, and you had corn, and we wanted to swap properties. We would just kind of swap our farms, and we would trade our crops. And so for a long time, 1031s were very much like that. People just swapping properties, primarily agricultural America. The 1031, if you just boil down what it does today, is it allows somebody to give up any property that they hold for investment or use in a business. They're able to sell it, and then by following some rules, that money goes to what's called a qualified intermediary. Then they're able to redeploy the capital into another, what we call a like-kind property. So a property held for investment or used in a business. So it's a way for people to take their capital, not pay any taxes at all. And so I'll kind of drill that home. You've got 4 taxes that are owed. If you sell an asset, you typically owe depreciation recapture at 25, federal capital gain at 15 or 20, a net investment income if you have significant gain of 3.8, and then state taxes, which in the great state of California go up to 14.4%. So all of those together for your average investor, if you buy something and you hold on to it for 10, 15 years and you pay all those taxes, you end up with a lot less in your wallet. So 1031 allows you to take all of that, redeploy it into a better performing property. And it could be one asset, it could be multiple assets, you know, you can do all sorts of things. What your question was how does that fit into the passive income machine? And what's really critical is we're all about teaching people how to become owners, how to buy assets that allow the economic forces to work for them rather than against them. But we buy an asset and you sit on it for a while, and over time, equity starts to accumulate and the loan gets paid down. And you might be able to take that equity and get a better rate of return on that equity by redeploying it. And so that's what we kind of do with the passive income machine is acquire some assets, give it time, let all those economic forces work over a period of time, but somewhere down the road, now you can take that equity and you can harvest it and then redeploy it into more assets or maybe more doors or more cash flow or maybe even a higher quality asset. So lots of options, but it's a powerful strategy, Ryan. I've done it in my own portfolio. I've sold one property and I exchanged for 4 in one Midwest market and 1 in another. So 1 into 5. And I've done all sorts of things like that. And many of the people in our community are regularly selling an asset in a 1031 and they might redeploy it into 2 or 3 other assets. So think of a 1031 exchange as the way that you build wealth in real estate in America. It's unique to real estate. You can't do this with stocks and bonds and mutual funds. But real estate has this preferred status in the code where we can do it. And so to me, that's a big advantage that we have investing in investment property that you're not going to find with other asset classes. Is you've got this tool, we can take the money and defer it over and over and over again. And, you know, maybe we'll talk about it later. You can eventually keep doing that, and you don't even have to pay the capital gain taxes ever in your lifetime. And you pass it on to your heirs, and they don't have to pay capital gain taxes. So it's when you know you talk a lot about building a legacy. this is a key component of building a legacy, getting ahead financially for ourselves, but then setting up the future generations, the people that maybe we won't see, our future great grandchildren, and really giving them a leg up and an opportunity. It's building that legacy, and that's super exciting.
Well, let's not leave the audience on a cliffhanger because I'll be honest, myself included. I was under the misconception that, with 1031s, you could 1031 one time, but eventually I was gonna have to pay for the taxes. I was just rolling a tax liability to the future, because tax deferral in my mind, it kind of goes back to the IRA status. At some point I gotta pay the piper. But you educated me on the fact that I can indefinitely roll my taxes and then have a step up. So talk us through that. How, with 1031s, how can we use real estate in the 1031 code to indefinitely defer our taxes and then pass on our real estate to our future generations?
Yeah, let me give you an example of that, Ryan. Let's say somebody buys a simple home for $150,000. They hold on to it for maybe 5, 6 years, and they exchange it to two more homes, each worth 150,000. So they've gone to 300. They go from there from 300 maybe up to 600, 900. And let's say they started when they were in their 30s. So now they've been doing these exchanges, and that first little house they bought for 150,000, they've been doing subsequent exchanges, and now they're maybe buying more homes, or maybe they're going to go into a commercial property. So let's just say they started at 150,000 at age 30, and now in their 80s, and that $150,000 asset, when you add it all up, it's worth $4 or $5 million. It's a lot. So it's all what we call capital gain. So you've been using the tool through your lifetime. You pass away, your heirs get it with what is called a step up in basis. So if it's worth 5 million, they get it worth 5 million. That's what's called their net adjusted basis in the property. They could sell it the very next day and pay zero in capital gain taxes.
Oh man, that gave me the shivers right there.
Isn't that amazing that we
That's
have
so
that
cool.
tool?
That
Yeah.
is so cool, man. I love that. And here's the interesting thing. You said the 1031, it's this little incentive, this little unique tool in the tax code only available to real estate. And here's the powerful thing about the passive income machine. And this is why I'm so excited to align with you. I want to talk about the transition you just made here in just a moment. But inside of the tax code, you can do 1031s and you can do 1035s. A 1035 exchange is an exchange in a vault world. Just like it does in the real estate world, you can exchange and keep vault. You can upgrade your vault status. You can move one vault to a better performing vault, and you never pay taxes. It's a phenomenal thing, and it really just comes down to the overarching umbrella. And the next podcast that we do, we're going to talk about this. Tax strategy defines investing strategy, period. If you don't have a tax strategy, you're not really investing. If you're investing and you're deferring your gains, that's not a tax strategy. And so when you understand the tax code, it starts to filter. It starts to filter your decisions, where you put your money, how you put your money, because if you don't have a tax game, then most of your investment gains in some form, in some fashion, whether it's due to real taxes or the opportunity cost that comes from paying taxes when you didn't otherwise have to, most of your gains go to taxes in some form or fashion, either real or opportunity costs. And so that's why I'm so excited to have Scott Saunders as a permanent part of our community on this podcast. So Scott, let's talk a little bit about what you just did. You've had a full, successful, wonderful career in the 1031 world, but you've made a big jump recently. Talk us through what this jump is and what's on the horizon for you.
Yeah, I formally joined working full time in the wealth outside of Wall Street community. And for me, it's been an evolution over time. I've seen the results in my own life as I've kind of applied these principles, and it's made a huge difference. Part of it too is wanting to make an impact and do something of significance. So I enjoy talking tax code. I enjoy all that. And it's fun, but I've done it a long time. I think 37 years now in that niche. So I'm really good in that specialty. But when we talk about the concept of financial freedom, right, and developing passive income, that's the sort of stuff that changes lives. And for me, being able to do that, I've kind of been on the side, a coach in the community, helping people out, coaching with different things. The opportunity to jump in and be with you and the team and really to take this message and show people. I look at what's going on in the marketplace. People are stressed out financially. Inflation's crushed people. Wages, real wages don't keep up with inflation. There are all sorts of problems. But with the passive income machine, we've actually got a solution that almost anybody can implement. Now, it won't be overnight. It takes time, right? 10 years or less. It's going to take some seasoning. But to me, to be a part of that and be able to share that with people, whether they have my background on tax and real estate, or whether they're a business owner, or whether they're a homemaker, whatever it might be, that applies to anybody. And I'm just really excited to be able to share that message and kind of walk alongside you in a community where we're taking that message out and showing people, giving them hope, giving them an opportunity, and giving them a way out of the financial traps that are there, because it's really tough. The whole society, the whole system is set up to kind of trap people into certain ways. We teach things that are almost exactly the opposite of what Wall Street and traditional financial advice is. And when people can apply that, it makes a measurable difference. And that's honestly what motivates me. I want to be a part of this movement, and I want to be a part of this message and getting it out of there. And I want to see people all over this country be able to implement it and have more time with their kids, take vacations with their family, not live with the financial stress, and most importantly, do what they're passionate about, what they love, what their natural talents and abilities are. I mean, there should be more to life than just working the grind to put food on the table and pay the utilities and make a car payment. And so living a life of purpose, who doesn't want that, right? I think we all in our soul want that in something. And everybody's got a unique message, and we march to the beat of our own drummer. But to find that purpose and to have the freedom to step into that, my gosh, that's living.
That's living, Scott. I love that. That's I think what really aligns us right there is we see money the same way. The more I've come to learn about money as I've interacted with so many people, I've realized that no one actually really wants money, right? We get lost in the pursuit of money, but no one at the end of the day actually wants money. They want what money can be traded for. And, if we just think about this from kind of a human evolution standpoint, a Maslow hierarchy of needs, first and foremost, we want security. We want to make sure that we've got enough money to put food on the table, to pay the electric, to keep the lights on, those type of things. Then we want to make sure we have enough money to have meaningful memories and experiences with our family. And then we want to make sure we have enough money and freedom to pursue our life's greatest passions. And, I think so oftentimes Americans get disillusioned by the money system, by the economy, because they follow this pathway that tells them one day all of that's going to work out. And, you and I have talked to so many people over the course of time now where the biggest risk that I think people take with traditional financial advice, with putting their money in Wall Street, is you have to trade the one thing you can't get back. You have to trade 30 or 40 years just to see if it's actually going to work. And so, no matter where you are today, my friends, I would invite you to consider setting much, much shorter increments with your money and with your outcomes. The reason we say financial freedom in 10 years or less is, let's say you are in your 30s, and let's say you come and follow us, and after 10 years it didn't work, right? It didn't work, or it didn't work as much as you thought it was going to work, right? You still have plenty of time to course correct. But what if it did work? Like, what if it did work in 10 years and you now move yourself to a position of options? I really think that's what financial freedom is. Scott, you are in a position of options. You walked away from a very lucrative, professional, successful career because you wanted to, because you wanted to chase something that was more meaningful to you, and you could. You built a system that gave you those options. And so, Scott, as you get ready to step in full time here, what is your vision? What is your vision for the passive income machine and for money mastery? What do you want to see this podcast, this movement, and this message accomplish over the next 5 years?
Over 5 years, I want to see
Yep.
this. I want to see the passive income machine be something that people know and talk about. When you talk about a 401k or Wall Street, the people are like, what is this passive income machine I keep hearing about? The financial advisors hear about it, the investors hear. That would be exciting, that we actually kind of sit side by side with, all the other strategies, because what we do works. What I love about our community is that word, community. We have the coolest, most engaged, sincere, authentic, real people. I mean, we've got a diverse group of people. I like our community inside of Money Mastery, that we have people that cheer each other on. When we got a challenge, people chime in and give ideas. Okay, here's a contact, here's a lead. People post, we talk, we interact. We have a great time when we get together. We're getting together in a few weeks in Indianapolis at Rise Up Live, and we have relationships. We go on early morning hikes at 6 and, go for a walk and, get the heart pumping and hanging out. But the main thing we do is we support one another. And we've got a community of people that have been doing this for years, that we've got all these deep friendships and relationships. I was talking to somebody yesterday in Texas, and we've gotten together, his wife and I with my girlfriend, we got together in New Orleans once for a weekend just to hang out with each other. These are the types of relationships. So I think our community is what makes it special. It's really tough to do it alone. It can be done. People do it, but it's tougher. What we've got is a community of people that kind of have a hand behind, pulling people up. And if you're, just getting in, you kind of have a hand where you can reach ahead. And I like that we are doing that. And we've got a lot of things to improve, but that's what is special about our community, is that we're all working together with a common goal. Think about we just had the trip in Alaska. Some people that posted a trip of a lifetime where they went to Alaska with their relatives and their kids, posting picture after picture on a cruise and fishing and wildlife. And what did the community do? We all were cheering them on, 2 thumbs up, that they were actually living their dream and living their life now when they're young and healthy. And in that case, one of the individuals had left their corporate career in the banking sector. So
Yeah.
that's what we do in our community. We cheer each other on. And, it's almost the opposite. We think of real estate. I mean, sometimes you think of people, they're flashing the jets and the lamb, but whatever. We're the opposite. We're people that are just living our lives and stepping into our authentic selves and having a good time doing it. And I dig that about the community. So 5 years out, I see some pretty awesome things 5 years out. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm working with you. Ryan, you inspired me. You were the person that I got plugged into because I heard you talking about owning time. I'll never forget when I heard you say those words with authenticity, and you were real and approachable. And then I found out you're the same guy that you were on that podcast in real life. And so that whole concept of being able to buy back our time and own our time, I'm all in on that message because that's what it's all about. And we can't go back. We can always get a few more bucks. We can't go back and reclaim our time. We can't reclaim our health. We can't reclaim, some cases, relationships. But to begin to own our time, phew, that's gold right there.
That's where it's at. Well, all right, my friends, you heard it from Scott Saunders, my co-host on the Passive Income Machine. Scott, is such a honor to have you in the community, and now to have you transitioning into this community full time and really just sharing your expertise. So my friends, if you're looking for a place to invest, if you're looking for a place to take control over your money, and you want to be part of a like-minded community, Scott gave you the framework. Come and join us. Come and see what this is all about. Buy back your time, achieve financial freedom, and live a purpose-driven life. That's what it's all about, my friends. So if you're not signed up for the Retire in 10 Years Summit, I don't know what you're waiting for. I don't know what you're waiting for. So get signed up now, and we will see you on the inside of that summit. And from that point forward, Scott, you and me on the microphone. We'll be back on next episode. See you guys. All right, my friends, thanks so much for hanging out today. I really appreciate you tuning in. But before you go, if we talked about something today that made you want to take action, you need to get yourself registered for the How to Retire in 10 Years Summit. It's the financial game changer that you've been looking for, teaching you exactly how to create passive income and financial freedom in 2025. Jump on it early because we've got a special bonus waiting for you. All the details are in the link below, or head on over to retireintenyears.com. So get registered, and I'll see you at the summit.